this more. I'm joined now in the studio by independent Dutch journalist Sonja van den Ende. Sonja, it's always really good to have you with us, and particularly on this, actually, because you're an independent journalist. We've heard they're not just targeting Russian journalists. This net is wide now. You've been to Syria, you've been to Ukraine. I imagine that they consider you to be a person who questions Kiev's narratives. So how do words like those we hear from Sarah make you feel?
Well, of course, it's awful when you see a guy, or actually transgender is how they call it, on the screen or on Twitter. I mean, it is very active on Twitter. And actually threatening all people like me, Western journalists who are, what you said, we are independent journalists. I went a lot to the Ukraine, Syria, or recently I went again to Donbass, Kherson. I mean, it's when you don't know that it's real. It's actually, you look at this and you think, my God, what is this? Is this real, or this is just, But actually, it's not. It's frightening, of course. I won't be frightened that much. But I mean, it's a threat. It's a threat to us all, to Western journalists. We all are on the peacekeeper list, but actually it's a kill list. And I mean, they threatened us. Later she said, okay, no, it was not like that, it's just trials. But they threaten us, of course they threaten us. I mean, we see what's happened to Daria Dugina and Tartarsky. So they threaten us. And it's actually more terrorism. I mean, if imagine this in Europe, it would be terrorism. They would say, this a crazy guy or woman should be jailed or at least, trialed. So, yeah, this is actually what is going on. And it's actually terrible.
That's exactly actually what I was thinking about earlier today. I think if a Russian official had said that, it would be everywhere. I mean, like you said, it would probably be deemed terrorism. So why is it that individuals like Sarah are allowed to kind of get away with what they say? There's silence in the West.
I think the West has adopted an agenda to wipe out Russia. This is clear now to everybody. And I think a few years ago, because this list is already, I think, since 2014 or even before, I'm not sure about that, but there was an attempt in the EU to close down this list, this website, and they voted against it. So, I mean, that time already they had some sort of an agenda. And now we clearly see that this agenda is now like that. So if you speak about Russian journalists or Western journalists who are, like me in Russia and going to the Donbass, they're silent. They don't say anything. And this is really horrible because they speak of, democracy, freedom, and, well, there's nothing like that anymore. It's all gone.
Well, it's interesting that you use the word democracy because, of course, one of the big arguments here is that Ukraine is preserving the idea of democracy by fighting with Russia. This is something that we constantly hear from its Western sponsors as well. So is that a lie, or are they interpreting democracy in a slightly different way?
Well, I think they just use the word as they used to, like using anti-Semitism, democracy, because really the word means the will of the people. Well, I don't think the will of the people is to wage war against Russia, if you really ask Dutch people or German or European people. So it's just words. And this is the European politicians using these words just, I don't know why, but it sounds nice. This is all, but they're not conducting it in real life. They, actually, to my opinion, they are totalitarian states. Because if you wage a war, if you send weapons for peace is what they call it. This is not democracy. Democracy is also, you have to be a diplomat, you have to conduct diplomacy, and they are not doing this. So they are, and also the leaders, to my opinion, we have now in Europe are ignorant. They are, not well educated because how they speak. I think they don't know anything about Russia, or they don't know anything what happened as from 2014. So it's sad, actually, if you think about it.
It definitely does seem that diplomacy is sort of lacking on all fronts at the moment. It's difficult to imagine who would have conversations to resolve the conflict. But, obviously you said, and very admirably, that you're not going to be silenced by this, but it's also not right that individuals like you, by passion or for whatever reasons that drove you to this profession, you should be able to speak whatever you see. You said you've been to Donbass, you reported from there. I think you were there both before and after 2022.
Yes.
So in your opinion, what can be done to make you feel safe and to eliminate this threat towards people in the media?
Well, I think, of course, we feel safe because I think Russia, we have a safe haven here. But yeah, when we go to the Donbass, like me, of course, there are threats. And of course, I have threats in my mail or social media. I mean, threats everywhere. And what I can do is I will keep on telling the truth. This is all we can do. And when I came back, I just report from, what I saw and what the people are saying there in the Donbass. That's very important. Who are they? What are they thinking about Russian, Ukrainian? This is important. And I mean, if they threaten me for this, this is actually terrible, of course. But okay, I keep on going. I will not be intimidated, and I keep on spreading what I see. What I see is, for me, is the truth. Because when I'm there, I see the people. When I went there before, I saw them in the basements. They told me, and I was there in Kherson as an observer last few days. And just when we left the polling station, there was an attempt to shell the polling station. So imagine all this. This is terrorism. But yeah, okay, what can we do? It's my job, and I think I'm obliged to spread the truth and keep on doing this.
And the final thing I just want to ask you, I mean, one could argue this Sarah Ashton-Cirillo, she's just one individual, and she goes onto Twitter and she makes these threats empty or not. But do you think that her words are reflective of wider sentiment amongst A, Ukrainian society, or B, Ukrainian political elite?
I think among the political elite of Ukraine, I think a lot of them are really fascists. That's what we can see, what we can hear. Like the other guy recently, last day, he said that India and China are not intelligent people. I mean, how can you say this? And the West is silent again. Okay, later on he said, okay, it was not meant, like that. I think not all Ukrainians, but part of the government is fascist. I think a lot of politicians in the West are too dumb to understand what is really going on in Ukraine, or maybe the Baltic states, because they're also fascist, the governments. They close the border, and Russians have to strip, I think, when they cross the border, cannot even take, clothes or something.
Shampoo.
I mean, what is this? This is what fascism was in early days, and they don't recognize it. And I hope the common people in Europe will recognize that, we are back like in the 30s when it also happened. So this is what we hope. Mm-hmm.
Well, it definitely is. It's very sinister, very chilling words from her. I can't imagine what it must feel like for you to continue to pursue what you do. But we're very grateful that you're here, that you're sharing your perspective, and that you continue to do what you do. That was independent Dutch journalist Sonja van den Ende joining me here in the studio. Many thanks, Sonja.
Thanks.